Beneath the arid deserts and bustling cities of Iran lies a labyrinth unseen by satellites and undetected by the prying eyes of foreign intelligence. This is Iran's underground network, a shadowed realm where tunnels, bunkers, and secret facilities intertwine like veins beneath the surface. From the first moment American intelligence agencies tried to map the country's strategic capabilities, they ran into a wall of impossibility. Traditional reconnaissance methods, drones, satellites, even human sources, were all rendered ineffective. The network itself is not simply a collection of tunnels. It is a multi-layered system designed with military precision. At the top, there are above-ground decoys, warehouses, factories, and abandoned facilities meant to confuse satellite imagery. Below them, vast subterranean halls extend hundreds of meters, housing weapons, command centers, and even production facilities. These are connected to secret smuggling routes that can transport personnel and materials without detection. American intelligence analysts have repeatedly described these structures as ghost networks, locations that exist but cannot be confirmed. One of the most sophisticated aspects of the network is its decentralization. Rather than a single easily targeted site, Iran has scattered its operations across hundreds of nodes. Some of these are hardened bunkers beneath mountains, accessible only through concealed vertical shafts. Others are underground factories, disguised as civilian infrastructure. Engineers use reinforced concrete, advanced blast doors, and electromagnetic shielding to prevent electronic surveillance. Communications within the network rely on low-frequency encrypted systems, preventing interception from high-altitude signals, intelligence satellites. Historically, this network did not appear overnight. Its roots trace back to the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s, when Tehran realized that above-ground military assets were vulnerable to precision bombing. The lessons of that brutal conflict were etched into Iran's military doctrine. Survival depends on concealment, mobility, and unpredictability. Over the decades, this doctrine evolved into an extensive underground strategy. By the 1990s, analysts noticed signs of secret nuclear, missile, and drone facilities buried under mountains and deserts, structures so well concealed that even the most sophisticated reconnaissance satellites struggled to detect them. When the U.S. began to consider strikes or containment strategies, the challenge became evident. "We were flying blind," one former intelligence official admitted. Efforts to infiltrate the network using traditional espionage were often met with failure. Human intelligence sources were compromised or turned into disinformation agents. Even commercial satellite imagery, enhanced and analyzed with AI, could only suggest anomalies, never confirm the nature of the underground sites. Analysts began to refer to these installations as phantoms in the sand, a network that exists in theory but remains elusive in practice. What makes this underground web particularly nightmarish for U.S. intelligence is its adaptability. Tunnels are routinely expanded, entrances shifted, and decoy facilities erected. Some networks are designed to survive airstrikes, with blast-resistant doors and underground chambers buried deep enough to withstand bombs. Others are interconnected with urban infrastructure, allowing quick exit points into civilian areas, making any attack politically and operationally complicated. By the mid-2000s, it became clear Iran had built a defensive system that was nearly immune to traditional surveillance and precision attacks. The intelligence community faced a difficult question. How do you target something you cannot see? Every drone, every satellite pass, every signal interception risk producing misleading or incomplete information. Analysts had to rely on triangulating seemingly unrelated events. The sudden appearance of construction materials in a remote area, the movement of truck convoys along hidden paths, or signals from low-tech communication channels. Piecing these together became a painstaking task, but even then, certainty remained elusive. By the 2000s, the world began to hear whispers of Iran's ghost sites, facilities so well concealed that their existence could only be inferred from secondhand evidence. Reports of secret nuclear research, missile development, and drone production led to mounting concern in Washington. Yet attempts to pinpoint their locations often hit dead ends. U.S. satellites would capture images of empty warehouses, barren desert stretches, or mountain ridges, only to discover later that the actual facilities lay deep beneath, shielded by meters of reinforced concrete. Iran's approach to concealment is multi-layered. First, entrances are often disguised as natural formations, civilian buildings, or industrial complexes. Satellite imagery might detect a false facility, but it serves only to mislead foreign analysts. Second, internal layouts are deliberately labyrinthine. Engineers design the underground sites with maze-like corridors, emergency escape routes, and false chambers. Any intruder would face a network designed to confuse and trap them. Third, environmental manipulation is used to mask activity. Air vents are hidden within industrial zones. Water sources are redirected to obscure detection, and electrical outputs are minimized to avoid revealing energy usage patterns that satellites could detect. Some of the most sensitive sites are located beneath mountains. In these regions, aerial reconnaissance is nearly useless. The mountains themselves act as natural shields, absorbing radar and infrared signals. To penetrate such areas, U.S. intelligence has relied on human intelligence, signals interception, and occasional cyber intrusions. Yet even these efforts are fraught with risk. A single compromised source or hack system can alert Tehran to the investigation, leading to rapid evacuation or operational shifts. Historical incidents have shown just how sophisticated Iran's network truly is. In the late 2000s, U.S. analysts believed they had identified a key missile development site. Yet when surveillance operations were launched, the location appeared deserted. Only months later did reports surface of clandestine testing conducted at a different, undisclosed site nearby. Analysts concluded that the original facility had been a decoy, a calculated misdirection designed to waste intelligence resources. These tactics have been repeated across different regions, reinforcing the image of a ghost network, elusive, deceptive, and adaptive. The nuclear dimension of these networks heightens the stakes. Uranium enrichment, missile guidance systems, and drone manufacturing are all activities that cannot remain permanently hidden above ground. Iran's solution has been to construct subterranean production sites capable of sustaining high-risk operation without detection. Facilities are interconnected, allowing materials and personnel to move without exposure. Even when Western intelligence suspects activity, confirming the exact nature, whether weapons-grade production or civilian research, remains a challenge. The nightmare scenario for U.S. intelligence lies in this uncertainty. Traditional tools, satellites, drones, SIGINT, provide partial views but never the full picture. A miscalculation could lead to a diplomatic crisis, military misstep, or failed covert operation. Every strike or operation must consider the possibility that the intended target is a decoy, while the real activity continues undisturbed elsewhere. Iran's underground network is not just a defensive measure, it is an active tool of strategic deception, forcing adversaries to question everything they see. By the 2010s, analysts realized that the network's sophistication was evolving faster than intelligence could keep up. Cybersecurity measures, mobile production units, and autonomous drone systems allowed Iran to operate in ways that were previously impossible. Even as U.S. agencies deployed new technologies, Iran adapted, creating a perpetual game of cat and mouse in which the intelligence gap only widened. For U.S. intelligence agencies, understanding Iran's underground network has been a decades-long struggle, marked by frustration, innovation, and occasional breakthroughs. Analysts and operatives have had to rethink the very definition of surveillance. Traditional reconnaissance, overhead imagery, signal interception, and human assets proved inadequate against a nation that excelled in concealment and misdirection. One method employed was pattern analysis. Analysts would track unusual traffic, unexplained construction, or intermittent electrical activity. By overlaying satellite images over months or years, analysts could detect anomalies. A road leading to a remote desert, a temporary construction camp, or irregular nighttime lighting could indicate activity. Yet these signals were often ambiguous, leading to false positives. The intelligence community nicknamed some of these phantom trails ghost echoes, traces that suggested activity but led nowhere upon investigation. Human intelligence played a vital role, but it came with high risk. Sources within Iran could be compromised, turned, or eliminated. Intelligence agencies had to cultivate networks carefully, balancing the need for actionable information with the danger of exposure. In some cases, minor leaks led to the immediate relocation of critical facilities, demonstrating the network's flexibility and the difficulty of penetrating it reliably. Cyber intelligence became increasingly important. Hacking attempts targeted internal communications, construction records, and industrial databases. Yet the Iranian network proved resilient. Engineers employed air-gap systems, redundant communication channels, and deceptive data to mislead attackers. Cyber operations occasionally yielded insights, but often these were incomplete or outdated by the time they were processed. The underground network's operators were not just hiding, they were actively shaping the battlefield of information. Operational failures taught a hard lesson. Iran's subterranean strategies were built to survive missteps. A failed strike or misdirected intelligence could alert the defenders, who would immediately relocate or reinforce critical infrastructure. Analysts came to understand that in this arena, uncertainty itself was a weapon. The network's very existence, combined with its invisibility, allowed Iran to operate with strategic advantage. In response, U.S. agencies invested in technology designed for extreme detection. Ground-penetrating radar, microsatellite constellations, and AI-driven anomaly detection became essential tools. Yet even with advanced tools, intelligence remained incomplete. Analysts often had to rely on indirect evidence. Supply chain disruptions, unexplained personnel movements, or environmental changes near suspected facilities. This piecemeal information required interpretation, cross-verification, and cautious judgment. Ultimately, the struggle against Iran's underground network is a story of adaptation and counter-adaptation. Every method used by the U.S. is met with a countermeasure from Tehran. Every surveillance technology inspires a new concealment tactic. What emerges is a system that is almost invisible, almost untouchable, and almost impossible to map completely. Intelligence officials often describe it as a living entity, one that senses, responds, and evolves. The strategic implications of Iran's underground network extend far beyond the technical challenge of surveillance. For the U.S., it represents a profound intelligence dilemma. How do you counter a threat that is partially invisible, constantly moving, and deliberately deceptive? Any military or diplomatic strategy must account for uncertainty, misinformation, and the high potential cost of errors. One clear implication is deterrence. By creating a network that is nearly impervious to observation, Iran has signaled that preemptive strikes or targeted operations are inherently risky. Satellites cannot confirm targets, drones cannot penetrate without detection, and ground operations are perilous. The network acts as both shield and weapon, giving Tehran strategic leverage against adversaries. Another implication is the complexity of negotiation and diplomacy. When intelligence is incomplete or unreliable, policymakers face difficult choices. Decisions about sanctions, inspections, or potential military actions are made with partial information. Misreading the scale or location of Iran's underground capabilities could escalate conflict or undermine diplomatic efforts. In effect, the underground network amplifies the uncertainty inherent in any foreign policy decision. Iran's network also serves as a blueprint for asymmetric defense. By investing in concealment, mobility, and decentralization, Tehran has shown that modern military advantage does not always lie in raw firepower or technology. Instead, survivability, adaptability, and strategic deception can create a power that rivals more technologically advanced adversaries. This lesson has been noted not only by U.S. intelligence, but by other nations observing the region. The network's resilience ensures that even if international pressure intensifies, Iran retains the ability to sustain critical operations. Weapons production, command and control functions, and strategic research can continue largely undetected. The U.S. may gather fragments of information, intercept communications, or conduct limited operations, but the underground system ensures continuity and security. In conclusion, Iran's underground network is more than a series of tunnels or bunkers. It is a manifestation of strategic foresight, engineering ingenuity, and psychological leverage. For U.S. intelligence, it represents a persistent nightmare, a network that cannot be fully seen, cannot be easily penetrated, and is constantly adapting to every attempt to map or disrupt it. Understanding it requires not just technical skill, but imagination, patience, and a recognition that in the shadowed labyrinth beneath Iran, very little is as it seems.